Okay, so let's begin with what this class is about. Now, the reason for economics and why we use this to study human action is because people are forced to make choices as they try to attain their goals. Now, these choices are necessary because we live in a world of scarcity. Scarcity is a situation in which unlimited wants exceeds the limited resources available to fulfill those wants. So economics is the study of the choices that people make in order to attain their goals, given the scarce resources that they face. Because we can't have everything we want, we're forced to make choices between different alternatives. And now, economists study these choices, and we use economic models to study that. We try to simplify the real world, break it down into a much simpler way, so we can try to understand what's going on in these real world situations. Like I said, economics is the study of human action. We're trying to understand what human beings are doing and why they're doing it. What's their motivation? And how do they go about choosing which action to perform? Now, this is necessary anytime choice is involved. And this framework applies to all human beings at all times. So this is whether they're buying or selling goods and services, whether they're engaged in politics, whether they're considering committing crime or not. We can use it to model family interactions, how religions are set up. There's a variety of frameworks. Typically, we're going to focus on buying and selling. So we're going to look at the marketplace. But we can use these tools to understand anytime humans need to make choices between multiple alternatives. And not just is it ever present in our world today, it's also throughout time. So if we look at the hyperinflation that Rome experienced 2,000 years ago, the framework can explain what was going on there just as well as it can explain what happened during the hyperinflation in Zimbabwe in the past decade. Economics is more than just how to save money or what the stock market is going to do. How decisions in various parts of the economy affect the allocation of resources in ways that raise or lower the material well-being of society. So this is much more broad than just focusing on these narrow areas, how to save money, what the stock market will do. The typical questions people ask when they find out that you're an economist. So in this course, we will be able, hopefully by the end of the semester, to answer questions like some of the following. First, how are the prices of goods and services determined? Next, how does pollution affect the economy? How could government policy deal with these effects? Why do firms engage in international trade? And how do government policies affect international trade? And finally, why does government control the prices of some goods and services? And what are the effects of those price controls? In order to use the tools of economics, there are three key assumptions that underlie the sort of analysis that we're going to do. These are important to remember as we're going through whatever you're trying to analyze, whatever problem you're trying to solve. The first is methodological individualism. So we're going to assume we're going to begin with the individual of the unit of analysis. All social phenomena emerge from individuals' actions and their interactions with other individuals. So we're going to focus on individuals rather than focusing on groups. Not that focusing on groups can't tell us anything. Obviously, by grouping people together with similarities, they have stuff in common. However, we're missing a lot of the inspiration of these actions. What's the underlying causes, or what are the things that are encouraging people, incentivizing people to act in a certain way? The next is purposeful action. The idea that individuals act purposely to satisfy their wants. Not that people are acting randomly, and it's not that they only care about money, or that people only want to take advantage of others, but that they have a goal in mind and they act to achieve that goal. That there's some reason that they're doing what they're doing. And the third assumption is economizing behavior. Individuals economize by considering the costs and benefits of an action. So they seek their desired ends, they want a certain outcome with the lowest possible cost for themselves. And this is from their perspective. People are rational. So what I mean by rational, and what we mean by rational in economics, is that they act in their own best interest as they see it. Now, they may not be right. This may not be what other people consider their best interest, but that individual, in the moment they choose, believe they're doing what's best for them. When you're presented with multiple choices, as a rational human being, you'll choose the best alternative that you see before you. You're not going to purposely pick the second best option, the second best way to satisfy your needs, when you see there's a better way out there. Now, of course, we're not always right. So rationality does not assume that people are perfectly intelligent. Obviously, because people are imperfect, they can make mistakes. I'm sure all of us have had buyer's remorse. We bought a t-shirt that later on turned out to be terrible, that we never wear anymore. But in that moment, we thought it was the best thing we could spend the money on. Now, if people are not rational, there's no analysis that can be done, not economic or otherwise. If we can't understand why people are making these decisions, why they think it's the best for themselves, then trying to design policy or trying to understand why they're making those decisions is impossible. Now, some people may appear irrational. They may make decisions that seem crazy to us, but in fact, in their mind, just because of the way they see the world or what they like and dislike, it turns out that they're completely rational. So, for example, my dad loves to eat Little Caesars. He loves that it's hot and ready and it's only $5. I think that's crazy. I would rather go to like a decent pizza place, wait a couple extra minutes, and get like a really good pie. But he's not being irrational. He likes the fact that it's ready. He likes the fact that it's so cheap. It's still pretty new for him. He found out about it later, so maybe there's that newness factor that he enjoys. So just because we have different preferences doesn't mean that one of us is right and one of us is wrong. Now, there are two types of analysis that we can do. There is positive analysis and normative analysis. The first, positive analysis, is a means-end framework. And what I mean by that is you're studying what is happening, what is going on. How does one thing affect another thing? So you're describing the cause and the effect and the process by which one change influences other things to change. So, for an example, the inflation rate increases when the money supply increases. That's positive analysis because we're trying to understand the cause and the effect. The cause, money supply increases, leads us to the effect that the inflation rate increases. On the other hand, there is normative analysis, and this involves value judgments. So we're trying to determine what ought to be. So this analysis is whether the outcome of a particular action is preferable to the alternatives. So obviously it involves your own personal values. So an example of this would be, is a higher inflation rate good for U.S. consumers? You can agree on the money supply increasing, causing the rate of inflation to increase. But you can still disagree about whether that higher inflation rate is good or bad for the economy, or good or bad for U.S. consumers in this example, because it involves value judgments and what you think is the best. So that's the idea of the devil and angel test. So that if you got devil and angel together, they would have the same positive analysis. They would understand the cause and the effect of what's going on and describe it in the same way. However, they would have the opposite normative conclusions. The devil would want something that's bad for humanity, while the angel would want something that's good for humanity. So the devil may say, no, we don't want to do this because it's good for people, while the angel would say, yes, we do want to do it because it is good for people. So because they have different normative goals, their values at the end are different. But the analysis up until that point is the same. In this class, we want to focus primarily on positive analysis, trying to describe the cause and the effects of things that are happening. Economics is more than just simply studying money. It's about trying to understand human action and human decision making. So we can think of economics as coordination between individuals, as exchange between individuals, and as competition between individuals. Now, the world is full of constant discovery and advancements, which help change what we can do, what options are available to us. So what we want to do in this course is focus on individual actions and the process of learning. So through learning, individuals can coordinate their many plans, wants, and goals with each other. Choice is a human endeavor that's constantly plagued with uncertainty. There's so much we don't know about the world around us, so much that's impossible for human beings to know everything that's going on. So economics is about the context within which imperfect people act and interact with each other. And as we interact with each other over time, we gain more knowledge. We understand what other individuals want better. We understand what products can actually do for us, what benefits they actually provide, understand whether something is high quality or low quality. A lot of knowledge that we gather through our actions. And economics is one way to study. Competition can be thought of more as a discovery process, not a football game. Not where you have two competitors, one gets to win, one gets to lose. But competition as a constant process of discovering new knowledge and acting upon that new knowledge. And other people, after you discover that, others can see that and incorporate their knowledge, or the knowledge that you gained. So people lack knowledge. Obviously, there's not much we know about the world around us just beginning. So competition is a means to discover that knowledge. So what goods do people want? How are we supposed to make them? What are we going to price the good at? What charity will satisfy people's needs the best? All these different ways, not just in the market setting. So the basic process for a product. You have an idea for a new product. You're an entrepreneur. You come up with something new. Then you try to sell it. And if consumers want it, you can keep producing. If not, then you stop producing it. You've gained the knowledge that it actually doesn't meet people's needs like you thought it would. And you use those resources to produce something else. Firms do not know ahead of time what's going to succeed. It's the discovery process of competition. By actually trying to sell on the market, they find out whether those products meet consumer needs or not. And not just what products to produce is determined by competition, but also how to produce those products is discovered through competition. So there's a trial and error for techniques and what materials to use. So for example, the assembly line. When Henry Ford, developed the assembly line over 100 years ago, he was the first person to try that. He was the first one to try to design production in that way. When he discovered that knowledge and found out that was a cheaper way to produce cars, other auto manufacturers began copying him. Once that knowledge was out there and people saw it was successful, they understood that meant that was a better way to produce cars than they could in the past. So through competition, they were able to discover new production methods that are superior to the old production methods. So when one entrepreneur succeeds, other entrepreneurs or other existing firms must adopt their strategy in order to keep up. So the market moves in the direction of the most efficient production method, just like it moves in the direction of the most efficient products or the best products.